This is ARC Sports.
Welcome in, my friends, to ARC PDX Sports. I hope you guys had a phenomenal Wednesday and hope you guys were staying safe with all of the things that's going on outside. But we got a great show for you folks, all full of hoops, some Portland Timbers, and a Pope with a new look. But before we get to all that, it's about championship time. Game 3 of the 2025 NBA Finals just concluded. Hope you guys were watching on our other station, Katu. Pacers nabbing that Game 3 win at home, 116-107 the final. And joining me right now to break down and analysis this game, top dog, the top dog himself, former NBA player, Portland Trail Blazers student analyst, Michael Holton. Coach, what's popping, locking, and dropping?
Hey, man, well, we're going to unpack this Game 3.
Yeah,
That's what we're going to do.
That's what I know.
I think we could call it a convincing win for the Pacers.
I'm not going to deny that.
And the reason I want to put a frame on the picture is because through Game 1 and 2, the Pacers had a lead for less than 2 minutes.
Yeah. In
2 games, and the series was 1-1.
Isn't that what's fun about it?
I know, because the mental gymnastics, I was like, man, part of me was like, man, the Pacers played terrible and won. They're going to win the series.
But you got Halliburton, who's obviously just been a clutch shot, which you know, they were talking about how he was overrated, how the NBA players have him overrated, but he's been making all those clutch shots. I don't see it anymore.
No, so I went from, wow, the Pacers played bad and they won, they're going to win, because OKC played great and lost, so their confidence is shaken, is what I thought.
Right.
And then you go to Game 2, and OKC's dominant, a convincing win.
Yep.
So now I'm shook. I don't know what's going to happen in Game 3. So Game 3 was very enjoyable because of the physicality, the crowd, and the Pacers' defense.
And that's actually what I wanted to get into. Pacers' defense was able to hold SGA to under 30 points. I'm not sure if SGA is going to have to score over 30 in each game for OKC to at least have the lead going into the final 2 minutes. But I do think that had an issue in terms of OKC scoring, because when you look at the game, all right, Halliburton didn't even get 20 points last game, and then he was able to get 20 and 10 now. But the Pacers' defense has been one of the key things, I want to say, in this entire, not just this series, but their entire playoff run.
Well, yeah, because OKC's defense, I thought, dictated the terms of engagement in Games 1 and 2.
There we go.
And the Pacers were kind of on their heels for most of both games. And, you know, you were kind of like, it was making you tight as a fan watching it, right? Well, now it's like the script has been flipped. And this is the first time I've seen OKC on their heels. And Shai Gilgeous-Alexander in particular not finding a way to get comfortable. He wasn't at peace with his game in Game 3.
He shouldn't have been. He has 6 turnovers, Coach. And obviously, they say it in football, turnovers will lose you the game as well, but I believe turnovers will lose you the basketball game the same exact way.
Well, turnovers are only good if you want to open a bakery. But in a basketball game, you got to squeeze the orange, man. You got to take care of the basketball. And so what's really been exciting to me throughout the whole playoffs has been the intensity of the defense.
Yeah.
And if I can just kind of widen the lens, the regular season in the NBA was all about three-point shooting. The narrative after every game was threes. Did you get enough of them? Did you get good ones? How did you get them? Did you defend the three-point line? That was the narrative.
You talked a lot about it with the Blazers.
Well, and now the playoffs, the three-point shot is not featured. It's not, everything's not revolving around manufacturing quality threes. And the exhibit A for this point I want to make is the Boston Celtics.
There we go.
They had a record-breaking, legendary three-point shooting season that did not translate. And so I'm looking at, well, what's translating? Because the playoffs are more physical. Usually it's half court. And what has happened that is most exciting to me is that the Pacers have been able to dictate pace. And now they have sped up Oklahoma City. Oklahoma City is now playing faster than they did in the regular season.
They're uncomfortable because when it was average, I remember reading the numbers, they beat teams on an average, what was it, 13 points each game this season, and now they're kind of in a situation with the Indiana team who you didn't kind of guess them to go all the way to the NBA Finals, and now they're just kind of shocking everybody, especially that OKC bench.
Yeah, because pace dictates quality shots.
Yes.
Pace dictates quality shots. And so in the playoffs, because the pace slows down, all of a sudden you got to be physical and good in the half court. to get shot quality. Traditionally, that's how it's gone. But the Pacers have broke the mold. I think we're looking at historic type of basketball from a standpoint of what the Pacers have been able to do. Because the Pacers in the regular season, they just play real fast and shoot their way in or shoot their way out. I mean, you can be up, the Pacers can be up 20 and you're going to be in the game because they're going to let you, but now all of a sudden, Rick Carlisle's got them bought in on the defensive end. And when you play defense that fuels your pace, Oklahoma City now is like, oh, we got to go back to the drawing board.
They figured something out, and they were able to kind of exploit something that they weren't really doing in the regular season. Stay tuned, folks, because, yes, we got a lot of OKC talk, but you see the logo behind me. Coach Holton ain't going anywhere. We got to discuss the Portland Trail Blazers. The draft is coming up when we return. Stay tuned. Yeah, I love it when we got that Rip City time. Welcome back, good people. Tyree Smith joined alongside former NBA player, Portland Trail Blazers studio analyst Michael Holton. It's all about Blazers, baby, next season, how they can improve. I have to ask your thoughts on this. OKC, the first youngest team in the NBA this season. Literally right behind them, you got the Portland Trail Blazers. What are some similarities you kind of see with this team that's in the finals with the team that's soon, and I'm telling you soon, will eventually get there?
Well, I think the thing that stands out to me the most is the way the Oklahoma City organization put the team together. I mean, you look at through the draft, through trades, SGA came in a trade, but when they got a core group of young guys, they kept them together. And Joe Cronin said, I believe, last year at the trade deadline, when he didn't make a move, that he wanted to keep guys together longer. And so when you talk about the similarities, I'm looking, okay, OKC kept, you know, Jalen Williams, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Dort. They kept those guys together. And then all of a sudden you see the chemistry and you see the experience. Well, I'm looking at the Blazers this year, particularly the second half of the year. And I look at the development of Shai, and I look at the development of Scoot. I look at the development of Chris Murray. But most importantly, I look at the emergence of Deni Avdija.
There we go.
And Toumani Camara. And now all of a sudden, if you keep the core together, the young core, Donovan Clingan, and now you got some experience in Toumani and Deni, you know, now you got draft assets coming up. And so there's similarities in how OKC was built and where the Trailblazers are.
So you think this Chauncey Billups signed an extension. How important do you think this year's draft is to every year that since he's been here?
Well, I think the draft is always important. And the next draft is probably more important than the last draft.
Yeah, there we go, picking 11 this season.
And I think the Blazers have put themselves in position by having a first-round pick.
Yes.
And then having other assets on the roster. You know, because while I don't like to play virtual GM because I'm terrible at it, right? I do know that when you look at the draft, it's one of the primary ways your team gets better. You got organic development, you have the draft, you have free agency, and you have trades. I mean, those are the four ways you build your team. And the draft is one of the few things that everybody participates in at the same time. So to me, it's the golden time of the year.
Does the golden time also mean when you look at this team, who do you think has the biggest challenge to take a step up next season?
I think everybody has to get better. I'm sure in the exit interviews that nobody was immune from being instructed on what they need to come back better at. I'm sure everybody left like, okay, I need to be 10% better or 20% better. I need to shoot the ball 5% better, whatever it was, right? But back to the keeping guys together, the collective experience of getting better. Because, Tyree, the only way you get experience is if you go through something. And sometimes the something you go through is you lose together. Right? Or you go through adversity together. But you get the experience together that now everybody pulls on the rope, and when you get to the other side of it, you have momentum.
And you saw Scoot went through adversity the first year. When I got a chance to talk to Coach Billups, he was talking about how Scoot went through that first year, had all that pressure of the first-round pick, and he still had that coming into his second year, but something switched in the second half. So next season, I'm really curious on your thoughts on this question. What would you consider a failure for this team, if there even really would be? Because they've improved, honestly, every year. So would you even, is there anything that you would consider a failure for next season?
No, I'm not even wired to think like that, because I don't think people are wired to fail. I think everybody's wired to succeed. And if you fail, it's because you focused on not doing something, right? So, you know, when I look at this team and where they are and what the next step is, and I'm glad you asked that because it allows me to kind of interject this point. A part of my concern with young players coming into the NBA today is that they're preoccupied with skills, with skill development. Skill work, they got a skill coach and skill, right? Skills are important because the game is about executing fundamental skills under pressure. Simply put, that's what the game is. So skills are important.
For sure.
But the pressure is important, the competitiveness. And I hope all young players are watching these playoffs, seeing how hard you have to play, how physical it is, how you got to play through contact. And so my concern with a lot of young players is that they don't get enough of the competitive pedigree while they're getting the skill development. And so now I look at Scoot, I look at Shaden, and I look at them being kind of the younger generation of guys coming into the NBA.
Next step up.
And so it's the competitive pedigree part that is the next step for them.
The thing that they kind of have to learn, which is also a positive because they're such a young group and they kind of kept them together. That's something they'll grow and learn together.
Right, and so to answer your question, you know, failure, success, it's about playing more meaningful minutes in more meaningful games.
Now, why I ain't had bring you on the Rip City wrap-up earlier this season to tell the fans that, huh? I should have brought you on earlier to talk about that.
Oh, man, you know, once you open the can, now it's open, so I guess I'll be back.
That's fine. Come on now, Coach. Oh, man, appreciate you. This is the guy when you see him, all right? Former NBA player and Trailblazer student analyst Michael Holton. I appreciate you, Coach, joining me tonight. Talk a little bit NBA Finals and a little bit of Portland Trailblazers basketball.
Thanks for having me.
Yes, sir. NBA